Well, you can find AFSCME union members from Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore. The union represents more than 45,000 workers in our state, and every day more and more Marylanders are finding themselves joining the union ranks. And joining us now to touch on some of the issues that those workers face is AFSCME-Maryland Council 3 President Patrick Moran. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having us, Jason.
Talk to me a little bit about the state of the worker right now. What's it look like for people entering the workforce?
Well, I mean, I think we've seen a big shift from the manufacturing economy that's played out over the years to the service economy. Yeah. And more and more service sector workers are coming forward, and government workers are coming forward in our case and saying, hey, I want stability, I want a say in my job, I want basic rights and guarantees, which I think is understandable and acceptable. The fact of the matter is we've grown exponentially over the last couple of years, almost 6,000 people or more in cultural locations such as museums and libraries, and state employees as well, all over the state of Maryland.
As you watch it with the broad scope now, we were talking off camera a little bit, when you see Starbucks workers pop up, when you see library workers pop up, what does that tell you right now about them? Are people learning more about their rights?
Yeah, I think people are becoming more and more aware of what's going on. With the advent of the internet, you're seeing things exposed, and people are taking notice of that, and they're saying, hey, I deserve a say in my job. I spend a third of my time here, a third of my waking hours. I need to have some stability, I need to have some rights and some guarantees, and I think that's what people are pursuing.
As we watch the economy, you spoke a bit about that, it's sort of a roller coaster now, you're not really sure where it's going to stop. And you were talking about the money that comes into a company. What does that say about what may come back out to a worker? Is it just as volatile for them as well?
I think, it is volatile if you don't have a union, that's for sure. You're not guaranteed anything. And with a union contract, people have certain guarantees in terms of their wages and their benefits. And I think that's becoming more and more important to people as we see even younger people.
Yeah, you mentioned it also, some people starting straight out, Walter's Art Museum, I think library workers and some others that you've worked with lately. What was the temperature like for them as they changed the whole model of things, of how they worked. And that's got to be interesting on both sides.
Right, I mean, it's been a great shot in the arm to our union because we're bringing in different types of people with different perspectives, artists and library workers, in addition to other types of state employees. So it really gives us more diversity, more voice in a different, all sorts of different ways, and it's been an incredible experience for them and for our union.
When you're giving the talk to workers, you're going to have some that are just going to be completely against it, and there are going to be some who like what you're able to do. What's your pitch? What's your pitch to say this is something that could to be beneficial to you?
That look, you spend an inordinate amount of time at work in this day and age, right? We're seeing more and more jobs where people are working beyond 8 hours. They need to have a say in that. They need to make it happen for themselves instead of letting the boss or the employer make it happen for them, because 9 times out of 10 that's not going to be the case. They aren't going to make it happen for them. So if they want stability, if they want to make sure that they have a living wage that increases with the rate of inflation, then the only option for them is to organize a union. And that call has been answered time and time again. We've seen over the last couple of years, and people are enthusiastic about it. They get out ahead, and they're ready for the fight.
Now, what is tough or difficult is finding this relationship with management. How are you able to balance the two? Because I'm sure when they see you coming, not all are happy to see you.
Well, look, at the end of the day, the workforce decides, right?
Sure.
And if they decide to have a union, then we are going to do everything we can to support them in order to get a contract, and we've done that consistently and effectively and successfully over the last several years here. Some of them have been more fraught than others. Sure. We expect that. But overall, we come to an agreement that our members who vote on that agreement, they're happy about it. Just like recently, last week, we came to an agreement with the city of Baltimore. The best contract the city workers in Baltimore have ever seen. Wow. We're very proud of that, and they'll vote on that soon. They'll make that democratic decision.
Okay, got about 30 seconds left. If people want to contact you, what's the best way to do it?
www.AFSCME, that's AFSCME-MD.org.
Excellent. Good to see you, man.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you for coming by. Yep, and that's it for us here on 11 TV Hill. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.